I greet you all peacefully. I remember God, oh God, so glorious you are, seeing all of us all at the same time. I thank you, God, for all the blessings that you've given to me and to others. My name is Jocelyn Latifa, and I have written some children's books. I am the mother of 5 children, and as my children were learning to read, I wish that there were some good children's books that taught children how to act in a good way, loving God, obeying God in the different circumstances that happen in life. So I did write some, and one of the series of books that I wrote is called the Naji series, and it's about a boy named Naji who lives in West Philadelphia. And I would like to read these books to you online, and if you like them, you are welcome to email me, and I plan to send you the book file, and then, God willing, you can print out the book if you have a printer, and you could use that book if you need a book for a book report at school, or if you want to share it with friends. And this way, God willing, it's easy for you and not too expensive, and you help yourself and help others by providing good books as opposed to the yucky books that many people have written for our beautiful children of the world. The first book in the Naji chapter book series is called Naji Busts the Drug Dealer. I start reading the book. Chapter 1, Meet Naji and his family. Naji is a boy who lives in West Philly. West Philly is a section of the city of Philadelphia in the state of Pennsylvania, in America. Naji lives with his big family over a corner store in a nice, clean apartment. Naji's father, Hakeem, is very kind and gentle. He loves selling jewelry on 52nd Street on the sidewalk. Every day, rain or shine, Hakeem sets up his table in his known spot. Naji's father says, the good thing about selling jewelry is, if it rains, it doesn't get ruined, like books. Plus, it's light to carry. Hakeem had gotten a lot of good jewelry when he went to Hajj 3 years ago. The Hajj pilgrimage was to Mecca in the Arabian Peninsula. Hakeem met a man from India there who sold him beautiful, precious jewel necklaces. Hakeem's rich brother, Uncle Rashid, had given him a loan without charging interest. Uncle Rashid has only one child, Zainab. Uncle Rashid lives in the suburbs of Philadelphia in a large house and is an accountant for a big company that makes snack cakes. Naji and his brothers and sisters like to set up the jewelry cases and put the little white sticker tags on the jewelry, telling the price. Naji's father decides on the price. Usually Hakeem also writes the price on the sticker, but his children are trying to have good enough handwriting so they can write the prices instead. Naji has 4 brothers and 2 sisters. His oldest brother, Kyle, is his mother's son from a previous marriage. Kyle is 18 years old. Naji's next sibling is Karima. She is 12 years old. Karima likes to help Mom make bean pies in the apartment. Naji's father also sells the bean pies at his table on the sidewalk. Naji's next brother is Bilal. Bilal is 10 years old. 2 months after Naji's mother had Bilal, she became pregnant with Naji. Naji is now 9 years old, like Zaina, his cousin. Naji says, "It's so good to be in the middle." Naji has 3 younger siblings. Naji takes care of them a lot because Naji does homeschool, whereas Kyle, Karima, and Bilal go to public school. Naji has a younger brother named Amir. Amir is 7 years old. Amir loves Naji a lot and sticks to him. After Amir, Naji has a sister named Ethra, who is 4 years old, and a toddler brother, Tamir, who is 2½ years old. Ethra is very quiet and loves to play house with her dolls. But Tamir loves to pull out all the baking pans and utensils out of the drawers and doors in the kitchen. Naji's mother's name is Anissa, but people always call her Nini. That's why her bean pies are called Nini pies. Chapter 2. Jump Rope Fun. Today, Naji's cousin, Zaina, came by and gave each of her cousins a jump rope. Naji's parents said, "Wait for the corner store to close before you all start jumping with those ropes in the living room." The store closed late at 8 p.m. After the sunset prayer, all the children headed to the toy box to get the new jump ropes. As Mom wrapped her cool bean pies and put the stickers on, all the children jumped with these ropes in the living room. The sound was thunderous, especially when the elevated train went by as well. Naji's father says they get the apartment at such a good rent because of the elevated train. This train runs right by the windows of the living room. If Naji's family does not close the blinds on the living room windows, people on the train might look right into Naji's apartment. Sometimes the children sit at the living room windows and wave at the people on the train. The living room is also Naji's parents' bedroom. Due to this, the children knew that they had only 2 hours of jumping time allotted to them. After everyone got warmed up, the children decided to hold a jumping contest. Let each person jump by themselves while the rest of us count how many jumps they do without missing. As soon as the person misses a jump, they are done, said Karima. Everyone thought this contest was a good idea. Karima said, "Everyone go before me." Naji went first. He jumped 57 times before he missed. Naji felt he did pretty well. However, after everyone else had their turn, Karima jumped 271 times without missing. Dad gave her a small silver ring as a prize. By 10:30 p.m., all the children were exhausted. After praying the night prayer, they made it to their room and fell asleep. Nini and Hakeem cleaned up the kitchen from the bean pie production. Then they slept in the living room after pulling the curtain. Chapter 3. Up at Night. At 1:30 a.m., Naji woke up. He thought maybe he had dreamt of gunshots and fighting. Naji needed to go to the bathroom and realized that there was a real fight going on outside on the street below. After Naji relieved himself, he wondered, "Should I wake up Mom and Dad?" He saw on the stove clock that it was 1:40 a.m. Maybe Mom and Dad would get upset if I wake them up now, Naji thought. Naji thought that if he turned on the light, someone from the street might notice. Naji was worried that someone might turn a gun to his apartment if they thought that a person in his house was watching the fight. So without turning on any lights, Naji knelt down on the floor next to the wall. Slowly he looked out the kitchen window and clearly saw two men on the sidewalk below. One man was beating up another man. The man getting beaten up kept saying, "I don't have the money." And the other man kept saying, "It's in your car, man. Open your car." Naji saw his father's cell phone charging on the counter. Naji wondered if he should call 911. Then Naji heard a gunshot. Naji looked out the window again. He clearly saw the face of the man with the gun. That guy was not finished. Naji saw him clearly shoot the man on the ground again, then go to the shot man's pocket, take his car keys, and head for the blue Nissan Altima parked nearby. The shooter clicked the car open. The thug quickly opened different compartments in the car until he found the money he was looking for. Naji quickly grabbed his father's cell phone and pushed 9-1 and then 1 again. He talked with the operator carefully. "I'm looking out of my window over 54th Street. I saw a man shoot another man. I know the shooter. He is the friend of my friend's brother. My friend and his brother live on this block." Naji managed to get out. The operator asked for the cross street, and Naji quietly said, "Market Street." The operator said, "Stay away from the windows and keep the lights off." Naji said, "That's what I'm doing now, and the lights in my apartment have been off." The operator said, "You are a hero. I am so glad that you called." Naji reconnected his father's cell phone and then lay on the ground. He felt his heart pumping fast. Naji kept going over the horrific scenes in his mind that he had just witnessed. Naji was so overwhelmed to think that he knew the shooter. Am I the only one who saw the shooting? Was the question in Naji's mind. After about 3 minutes, Naji heard the sirens of police cars. He hoped it was now safe to look out the window. In his heart, Naji asked God to protect him. Then he popped up and took a look. The first things that Naji saw were many blue and red lights flashing on top of police cars that had pulled up on the street. Then Naji looked at the spot where the shooting took place. He saw a man lying on the ground in a pool of blood. Naji looked for the shooter and the Nissan Altima, but both were apparently gone. Naji wondered if he should go down to the street. It was now 2 a.m., and Mom and Dad were still sound asleep. Naji thought that the police might need the information that he had. Naji quietly opened the apartment door and closed it without locking it. Naji went down the stairs of the hallway and felt his heart pumping hard again. Chapter 4. Naji is the witness. As Naji opened the main street door, his eyes fell on the shot man. Now there was an ambulance and a lot of people were on the ground around him. Naji saw the people shaking their heads. Then he saw them put the body in a long white bag and zip it closed. Naji knew this meant that the man was dead. A police officer came to Naji and asked him to go back in his apartment. Naji told the officer, I am the one who witnessed the shooting, and I was the one who called 911. The police officer said, I want to talk with your parents. Naji said they were asleep last time I checked. The police officer asked, do you have a dad upstairs? Naji said yes. The police officer said, wake him up and come down with him. I would like to talk with the two of you. Naji ran upstairs and into his apartment. He ran to his father's side and whispered in his ear, Dad, wake up! A policeman wants to talk to you. Naji's mom woke up first, however. Then Naji heard his little brother Tamir crying in the children's room. Naji's mother shook his dad, and things started to move fast. Outside, the sounds of screaming were heard, and Naji's dad quickly put on his long coat and pushed his feet into his leather slippers. Naji ran after his dad down the hallway stairs and out the door to the sidewalk. It was now 2:10 a.m. The officer, Naji, and Naji's dad sat on the store steps. The police officer had a clipboard with a paper on it and a pen. The policeman asked Naji's dad if he had called 911, and he said, no, my son just woke me up. Did you see anything of this murder? The policeman asked Naji's father. Murder? No, I just woke up. Who died? Cried Hakim. Chapter 5. Naji tells his story. The police officer looked at Naji and said seriously, tell your story, young man. Naji took a deep breath and felt that this was an extremely important moment in his life. I got up at 1:30 to go to the bathroom without turning the lights on. I heard yelling outside, so I looked out the window. I saw two men on my street. One was beating up the other one. The beater was saying, give me the money. The other man was on the ground. I do not know the man on the ground, but I know the beater. Then I saw the beater shoot the man on the ground, Naji narrated. How do you know the shooter? Asked the police officer. He is the friend of my friend's big brother, and his name is Red Martin. He came to the corner store here a lot. He always had girls with him. He liked to show his wallet off with a fat wad of bills, about 1 inch thick, said Naji. After Red Martin shot the man, he went into the man's pocket and took his keys. Then he opened the car and went through the compartments. Now I see the car is gone. I don't know who took the car. I was on the floor calling 911. The car was a new blue Nissan Altima. We kids know this car because the license plate is You Are a Dude. U-R-A-D-U-U-D, reported Naji. The police officer smiled and said, even though this is a tragedy with a man dead, what you did, young man, is really terrific. Do you know the house number of your friend's house? Naji replied, yes, it is on this street just across from us. The police officer and his fellow officers went up to the house of Naji's friend, Harry. Some police went behind the house and some were on the sides. An officer knocked hard on the front door, and said, open up, it's the police. When no one answered, the police went into the house from a window they pried. The police knew Red Martin because he had been arrested before for possession of drugs. Red Martin was passed out on the couch inside the house. The police cuffed his hands and feet, but still he did not move. Call in a paramedic, said a police officer to another. It looks like Red suffered a drug overdose, the officer added. I need to turn the page. Chapter 6. What about Harry? Outside, Naji wondered about his friend Harry, who lived in the house. Naji and his father kept sitting on the store steps. After 15 minutes, Naji saw his friend Harry come out of the house with a police officer. Naji's father told Naji, "I really love Harry. He is just 7 years old and he's a nice boy. But that house he lives in is not like our household at all. His mother is not a nice woman and is raising him wrong. Harry's big brother is not like Harry. Harry's brother has used a lot of drugs and brings women into the house to do God knows what. Probably the city will decide to put Harry in a foster home. If that happens, I plan to ask that we be the foster family for Harry." Naji was so happy. In the midst of this scary night, Naji thought about Harry being in a happy, God-loving household as compared to a house full of drugs and hard, mean people. A police officer came to Naji and Hakim saying, "Why don't you sleep? An officer is scheduled to come to your apartment and interview you more at 9 this morning. Don't worry, Red Martin is on his way to the hospital with his hands and feet cuffed. We cuffed his feet because he kicked an officer in the past. He is alive but very drugged. I thank God that he did not shoot any of us." Hakim said to the officer, "I would like to volunteer to be the foster dad for Harry, the 7-year-old boy you just took out of the house." The police officer smiled and said, "I hope something good comes out of this." Chapter 7. So many thoughts. Naji and his dad went upstairs. Now everyone was awake and Naji's mother had prepared some strong coffee. Mom hugged Naji tight and said softly in his ear, "You are a hero. I ask God to bless you greatly. I love you, Naji, my safe son." "Lie down, kids. I plan to wake you up for the dawn prayer," said Naji's father. Naji lay on his futon in the children's room. Naji always talked to God as he lay on his bed before sleeping. Most of the time Naji talked to God in his heart without speaking. However, sometimes Naji found himself whispering in an audible tone to God. Naji said to God in his heart, "Oh God, I love you so much. I am so happy that I had the courage to call 911 instead of just going back to bed. I have gotten so upset when Harry told me about his life, as you know. I hated the way his mother treated him. I remember asking you, God, to help Harry. I really never expected for all this to happen. I'm really excited, God, to think of Harry living with us. I really hope it happens, God." Naji slept a bit until he heard his father's beautiful voice making the call to prayer. The end. So that's the end of that Naji book, and that's the first of 10 Naji chapter books. So I hope you liked it, and remember, all you need to do is email me, and I plan to send you the file of that book. And if you have a printer, then just print out the book and staple it, and there's your chapter book to use for book reports or to share with friends or share with your teachers at school, I hope. My email address is JSPOESNE @gmail.com. So I hope to get emails from you children and to send you the file of this book. Print it out and share it with your friends and your teachers. I hope that the children of the world have better reading books. I thank you, God, that I did this video, and I hope that I do many, many more because I have a lot more books to share with you. Bye-bye.